When I moved back here, I started painting right away. And I was really inspired by the fog and my drives through the city. And I would listen to jazz music late at night, and I would sit there and paint, and it was amazing. I'd stay up till like 2:30 in the morning just drawing.
That was artist Robin Galante. I'm Jeff. Welcome to Storied San Francisco, a weekly podcast where San Franciscans from all walks of life share their stories, and you get to know your neighbors. In this podcast, Robin picks up where she left off in part 1, with her move to the city to go to school at SF State. After graduating, she went back home to Los Altos briefly, then took an office job in Burlingame. When that fizzled out, she laid stakes in San Francisco, this time for good. She dabbled in art and music, but following the death of her mom, art won out. Today, she's doing paintings of the outer Richmond to help raise money for businesses in that area affected by the shelter-in-place regulations. For more info, please visit Robin's website at robingalante.com. That's ROBINGALANTE.com. Here's Robin.
What was it about SF State?
Just that it was in the city and that it was close enough. I was close to my parents, and I have friends down, where I grew up. And so I liked that it was close to all that stuff. I didn't really want to move far away. I wanted to be close to my family, my sister, because we would hike every week. And so that's the one thing I miss the most actually right now during the quarantine. That kind of stuff. It's like, oh man. But yeah, that's why I wanted to stick around. But I mean, really it was also, I'd say 50% that, 50% just the pull of San Francisco, just the city.
By that point you were over the trauma of the crack house U-turn.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Totally. Oh, but I was such a little goody two-shoes. Like when I first moved here, I remember taking the bus, and maybe it was the first time I took it. It was actually the train. It was the Muni line that runs from State through West Portal to the Castro. And it was like magic, because you go into this tube and you're in this thing, and it's moving really fast, and you can't balance. And I was like, oh my God, it's like a warp zone, or that's such a video game reference. It's like a what do you call it? Like a wormhole. And all of a sudden you come out in a different world. Like I come from the foggy Lake Merced, San Francisco State area, because I grew up on, I lived on campus. And so it'd be foggy and sort of a little bit depressing. Go through this tunnel, come out sunny, there's rainbows, flags everywhere. It's like amazing. But I remember some guy gets onto the bus and starts pole dancing in front of me.
Of course.
And I'm freaking out, because that didn't happen in Los Altos.
That was your first ride? Your first
Yeah,
ride?
It was like my first or second. And I just sat.
You know that they send people out to do that for first timers, right?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if it's because I've had people visit, and people who aren't used to the city or whatever. And I feel like these horrible things happen, like when they're visiting me, and they're being nice, but I think like in their head they're like, God, how can you live here? Like, and I'm like, this doesn't happen, or it's happening all the time and I don't notice anymore.
Right. You're just
because I'm seeing everything through their eyes, and so I'm
exactly.
like, oh God, this is horrifying.
Yeah, it's like your turn on the wheel to come around to the wackiness.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you had that pole dance experience. And actually, the way you described, I never thought about this, but the way you described going from SF State, whatever line that is, the M,
it's
whatever
the
it is.
M.
Yeah, the M. Yeah, and it comes out of Castro. I was like, I never thought it was so Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
So Wizard of Oz.
I still love it. Like I haven't taken that bus in forever, because I haven't, I don't live over there, but I love those trains. Same with the N Judah that comes from the beach, and you go up. It's the same thing. You see so many neighborhoods on the way. I could just like sit on the bus. I mean, not right now, but I could sit on the bus and just go back and forth and look out the window. I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so you lived on campus. Did you? So you went to SF State for a couple years?
Yeah,
Or-
I got my BA, so I went there for 2 additional years. Or
Okay.
I went to Foothill for 2 years and I went to SF State for 2 years.
Did you get a degree in art or?
No.
Oh, of
I
course not.
stayed away from that. Yeah, I didn't want to take art formally.
Right.
My mom was part of that. She said, because she was an artist and she was going to go to art school. She didn't, but she's like, you can do whatever you want, but it's going to ruin it for you.
Mm,
And
interesting.
I kind of, in retrospect, I'm not sure if that's true, but I know that my journey with all of this would look really different if I
Right.
studied it.
Right.
It'd probably be more formal, and I really like kind of the way I've discovered things like on the fly. But no, I got a degree in liberal studies.
Okay.
So kind
Okay.
of like everything, my concentration was in literature. And so I took Michael Krasny's class. That was fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I took like videography. I took fashion design. So it was great. I loved it. I was like, this is a period of discovery. I'm going to try it all and see what sticks, you know?
Totally. And okay, so what's next after SF State?
So after San Francisco State, I was going to move into the city directly, and I didn't. I decided to, for family reasons that I won't get into here, I decided to move back to Los Altos
Okay.
for a little while, and I moved in with my mom, and that was great because we got along really well. And then I did move out about a year later, and settled down in Burlingame, and I had my own little studio, which I loved. It had shag carpet and it had a big gold ball lamp. Like, I don't know what you call those, but it was like a big gold ball that hangs from the ceiling. It was totally 1970s.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It was crazy. It had a dressing room with like green tile it was just the most amazing little place.
I'm picturing Austin Powers for some reason.
Yeah. It totally was.
Yeah.
It was great. I had a little balcony. Like, it was, I mean, not a bad, and it overlooked the parking garage. So it was like kind of ugly, but it was a great little place. But I decided, it was kind of a woo-woo story, but I had a lucid dream, which I have a lot of those. And it was a really complicated, long lucid dream, and it led me to decide once and for all to move up to the city. And then another circumstance happened where this guy stalked me. He was a total stranger, stalked me in my apartment, and the police told me that I had to move to be safe.
Jesus.
So yeah, because they couldn't do anything about it because he didn't technically do anything, but he was terrorizing me, and I didn't know the guy. Like, he was psycho. And so they said, the female police officer was like, you have to leave. Like, you have to move out of your place. I was devastated, but I thought, I'll take this opportunity to do the scary thing and quit my comfortable job. And, you know, which I loved. I was a receptionist at this little graduate school, and it was a wonderful place. I loved everybody who worked there. 9 to 5, great benefits. It was like the perfect job. But this kind of pushed me to go out of my comfort zone. And I decided I wanted to be an artist. And it was a long journey to get to the artist part. That only happened like last year. But,
wow.
I mean, you know, actually it working for me,
Right.
on a full-time basis thing. But yeah. So.
How old were you when this move after the dream and the stalker?
I was
25-ish or so?
Yeah. I was like 25.
Okay. So that's when you actually moved to the city.
Yes.
Not to discount your time at SF State, but it's a little different.
That's my real move. Yeah.
Yeah. And where did you?
Move.
Right. Where did you land? What part of the city?
So I landed in Lake Merced because it was the area that I knew the best, and I had a friend that lived in the complex that she lived on the lake there, kind of by San Francisco State.
Right.
And she helped me find a studio, or she told me that they had a studio available, and I didn't have a lot of time to make a decision, so I just took that. It was horrible. It was really dark. It was in the bottom corner of this huge complex. and it smelled like mold, and the carpet was
Oh.
awful. It was it faced a brick wall. It was terrible. But I started to paint because it was so dark. So I started painting pictures, different than the ones I make now, but on big canvases, just to put some color in my apartment.
Right.
And I painted
Right.
all my furniture and all that. So
You made the most of that move of necessity.
yes,
Sounds like.
yeah, I did.
So, and you said you had to quit your job down on the Peninsula. Did you get back into office work here, or?
My goal when I moved up here was I was not going to work in an office. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't
Right.
know where I would work. But that was my goal. I did not want to be chained to a desk looking at a computer all the time, but I didn't know what I wanted. I just know what I didn't want. So
Right.
I took a couple of jobs out of necessity just to pay my rent that were on the office front, but I quit them, or I got fired because I couldn't focus. That happened a couple times.
You're drawing.
And then what?
Were you drawing?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. No, I would
Awesome.
draw. I would sit there and draw, and like if people weren't looking, and I'd write in my journal, and I would space out. I would look out the window and just space out. So, yeah. And then I had some really interesting jobs. I decided to work for myself, and I was a personal assistant for various people, including a pretty famous inventor here in the Silicon Valley named David Kelly, who is a really interesting guy. And I worked at his house in Woodside, and I kind of did all this like organizing his he was in a bunch of magazines and periodicals and stuff, so I organized those for his daughter, so someday she could look back and see her dad in all these magazines. Was my job. And I refurbished a jukebox for him, and then I detailed his classic car collection. One of them was Doris Day's dad's car.
Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Can we back up real fast? You
Yeah.
just said you refurbished his jukebox?
Yeah.
Where did you get the knowledge to
I didn't have any.
Okay.
And that's the story of my life.
Okay.
That's the story of my life, is I don't have knowledge in a lot of things. I just do them. And people then think that I might have some knowledge, but I don't. So I'm faking it. So he had this jukebox, and it had the burl, kind of the wooden burl sort of on the side. I don't know if it's like swirly wood.
Yeah, sure.
And it was worn off. And so he said, can you paint that so it looks like the burl is back? Okay. And I'm like, I guess. And so I went to a paint store, color matched as best I could, and then just tried to paint the burl back.
So you were doing some odd jobs around the time you moved here, this and that. You did mention earlier that like there was a conscious decision to get back into your doing art.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely.
That timeline.
Yeah, so when I moved back here, I started painting right away, and I was really inspired by the fog and my drives through the city, and I would listen to jazz music late at night, and I would sit there and paint, and it was amazing. I'd stay up till like 2:30 in the morning just drawing.
KCSM?
Yes. Yeah, KCSM, and then they would do, it was KCSM, and they did yes, I did listen to KCSM in the car, and then at home I listened to K-Fog because at night on Friday it was Sunday night, I think they had this whole programming where they would have like a jam hour where they had like jam music for an hour, and then they had radio blues hour, I think was the name of it, and that was on at like 10 at night. And so I would listen to it all night on Friday, and I'd paint, and I remember doing that in my little dark apartment. And then I took a detour, and I started playing music and writing songs, and gigging a lot and playing out a lot, playing as part of a duo with my husband, making CDs. So that took up all my creative energy. So I was doing that pretty much exclusively. I didn't do a lot of a lot of drawing or painting for years.
What kind of places would you guys play?
We played mainly cafes and stuff like that. We played the Freight and Salvage. We played at, I'm just trying to think of the highlights. We played at Biscuits and Blues
Nice.
once. But these are all showcases, Yoshi's, but that was a showcase. But still, it was fun, you know.
Still, yeah.
It was great. But mostly it was, you know, cafes around San Francisco. So we just like the cafe scene the most. So yeah, and then I'd say around the time that my mom passed away, which is 2013, I didn't really feel like performing. I kind of went inward a little bit. And I liked visual art because I didn't have to like be on for anybody. I could just be in my little world. And so that's when it really kind of took off for me. And I started painting at that point in a lot. And the music kind of, it's hard for me to do both at the same time. So the music kind of faded for, you know, a bit. Not faded, but it just didn't hold the interest for me that painting did.
And so what kind of things were you painting at that time?
The first thing that I started doing, and this was probably around 2011-ish, maybe earlier, actually, probably a lot earlier. I started drawing my dreams. So I started, like, I've always had really vivid dreams. And so I started illustrating them, and I did a series of 30 that were just my dreams as best as I could remember them, in kind of almost a comic book form.
I was going to say like storyboard kind of, or
kind of, but it's dreams. And so it's they're very strange, and you either get them or you don't. A lot of people, I like that was where I started to get a little bit of recognition for that, which blew me away because I didn't think anybody would care about my dreams. You know, it's like when people tell you their dreams that people kind of go, whatever.
Snooze fest. Yeah.
But yeah, I was interviewed for a magazine in Spain about them, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like I can, because with songwriting, I liked being able to communicate to an audience, and have almost a conversation with people through music. And I learned that I could do that with art too. So that's how I kind of got back into it. And then I started working for Nocturne, the podcast, and doing that. And I did a children's book for someone. And then now I'm just doing a combination of my own stuff and commissions.
Sorry, can we talk about Nocturne real fast? When did that start for you?
I started, that was 2000. Oh my God. I think that was 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, God, so it's been a while. Whoa, that's crazy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was 2014 is when.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's their story for folks who aren't familiar, including myself? I think I actually first heard about Nocturne after I started following you.
Okay. Nocturne, it's an awesome podcast. I love it. So Vanessa Lowe is the producer. She's based in El Cerrito or Berkeley area, and she reached out. She's a singer-songwriter, and we kind of knew of each other in the music circles in the city, but we hadn't crossed paths. And she saw my dream drawings, and she asked me to she asked me to do the logo for Nocturne. And so Nocturne is your question. Nocturne is a podcast all about the night. So all of the stories take place in the nighttime. She has a background in sound design along with her husband, who's also a producer. And so it's really, every episode is seriously a work of art, but they're also funny, they're entertaining. Some of them are kind of scary. Some of them are historical. So it's really worth listening to. She kind of covers every kind of, genre. And she's just a really good storyteller and a great interviewer too. So
sounds cool. And by podcast standards, it's been around for a minute.
Yeah, it's been around
That's
for a while. She was in the New Yorker a couple years ago,
rad.
which is a big deal. Yeah, and like on all kinds of lists, and she's had been in Wired magazine. You know, like definitely some success has been had.
And you do original art for every episode, or is that
Yep.
very
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah, I'm just
Very
about to
cool.
do one. Yeah, every month she puts out an episode, and I do the illustration for it. So it's a lot of fun. We really, her and I have become really close friends. She's probably one of my closest friends, which is really a gift because we work together really well too. And I love her work, and I think she's a fan of me too. So it's a really nice situation.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'll be sure, in addition to what you're saying, I'll be sure to plug and tag Nocturne on all these podcasts for sure. Well, I don't want to skip over how I found out about you and kind of what drew me to you, and that was seeing can they be called drawings, illustrations, or the Balboa stuff?
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the Balboa
Illustrations,
art.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration for those, where they came from, and uh, again, for folks who don't know, the fundraising that you're doing with those?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, so the first one I did a painting of the Balboa Theater in full color, and I had so much fun doing that painting. I decided to start. I love drawing buildings. There's something kind of meditative about it, but I really love my neighborhood in particular. I'm a huge fan of my neighborhood, which is the outer Richmond, and Balboa is part of that. And I don't know, I love the houses, especially if they're a little bit more dilapidated and they've got crazy paint jobs. And I love trying to capture what the neighborhood, I don't know, what the neighborhood feels like, not just what it looks like, but the mood of the neighborhood, the fog. Although I don't always draw fog. I put a lot of blue sky in there. There is a lot of blue sky out here too.
There's more and more, I feel
There's
like,
more and more. I
now.
know it used to be so foggy, which I loved. But yeah, just kind of capturing the essence of the neighborhood through drawing, challenging myself too, and just being like, let's draw that building. There's a lot of detail on that one. Let's see if we can make it look good.
Right.
But really it's about also capturing, because the city is changing so much, and don't even get me started how much it's changing now.
That's another podcast.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. And this is changing, at least right now, it's changing the direction of my art a little bit. But really making me appreciate the places, the businesses and the people and everything. The way I was kind of doing a time capsule, like this is what it feels like. This is what it looks like right now. In 2018 is when I started. And in 2019, this is the way it looks and the way it feels. So that's kind of it, is trying to sort of preserve the city, and branching out, doing some different neighborhoods too. Just trying to celebrate the spirit of San Francisco. Because the other thing is that I feel like a lot of people talk about how the spirit of San Francisco is gone and it's all really cold now and there's no soul. And I agree that some of that has been stripped, which it periodically is every time we get too much money. And people start moving in from everywhere. That can happen, but the city's changed so many times. And it's just, that's kind of what San Francisco is. So I'm trying to celebrate what it still looks like without really, I don't know, being negative about it. Trying to stay positive. Because some of the businesses are having a tough time right now during the apocalypse. And so the Balboa Theater definitely needs our help. So for every painting of the Balboa Theater, and right now I've got the original color print of it. I've got prints and greeting cards. And right now any purchases go to their GoFundMe. So, and I'm also donating on my own, but all the proceeds from the Balboa Theater artwork go to them. And then the other business that I kind of I have a really soft place in my heart for is Gus's Bait and Tackle, which is down the street, and it's this little tackle shop. It's been in business for 60 years. And it's the original owner. And so I'm trying to raise funds for her as well. And so any Gus's Bait and Tackle paintings or greeting cards, all the proceeds go to her directly. I actually hand her cash.
Wow.
I wash it, with gloves and all that. But
yeah. And besides social media, do you have a website or anything that
I do.
folks can go to?
Yeah, it's www or whatever it is now, robingalante.com. So my name, robingalante.com.
That was Robin Galante. Join us again next week when we'll get to know Ray Bear, the owner of Cheese Plus over in Russian Hill. Music for Storied San Francisco is by Otis McDonald. Photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. The show is hosted and produced by me, Jeff Hunt. Our website is storiedsf.com, where you can browse more than 100 episodes and help support us by buying merch from our store. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. If that's Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please do us a quick favor and rate and review the show. And if you have any feedback or people you think should be on the podcast, our email is storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay healthy and stay safe.